What to do now? What shall we do now?
Swamiji, Svetashvatara.
Svetashvatara. Meditation.
Yes.
I will summarize what it says and then we will have meditation. Usually we have it before class, we'll try it after class today. Some of the things in the Upanishads that go under the name of upasana, meditation, if they are not understood properly, one will start having hallucinations. They are very powerful. And this is precisely because of the fact that they will say visualize this or do that, and some of those things are straightforward. Pranamo dhanuhu means the Omkara is, we saw that in some other Upanishad, in this Upanishad itself. So the Pranava, the Omkara, is the bow, and your focus is the arrow, and and then the meditation is the arrow and the focus is Brahman. So release the Om bow and then let it with the intended target as Brahman. So the Om leads to Brahman, like that. So that at least is metaphorical, nice to hear and fairly clear even if you read it by yourself. But some of the things here, if you start doing the things it says to do by yourself, here means here, okay? Svetashvatara Upanishad. I'm just pointing to the book which happens to be here. And if you start doing that all by yourself, especially, and without knowing the meaning, then it just, of course, one goes off course. Of course. Because the things that are there are not just visualize the Omkara as a bow and the arrow. It's not just so simple. It's much more complicated than that. And it will say things like, in the heart space, this is from the Kathopanishad, in the heart lotus, there is a thumb-sized Purusha. Angushtamatra Purushaha madhye atmani tishtati. A thumb-sized Purusha going like this in the heart space. See, this can throw you off, because then you feel like somebody is always here, and who is this Purusha, and if this Purusha is so Mahan, Mahato Mahiyan, and then you are looking at this Purusha, this all-pervasive Atma, Bhagavan, Paramatma, inside the heart as the size of my own thumb. Very difficult if it's not understood properly, And then not being happy with that, as though that were not enough, there is one more meditation in the Chandogya Upanishad called Akshini Purushaha. I think in the 3rd chapter or something. Akshini Purusha. Imagine now even a smaller than the thumb, bite-sized Purusha, tiny, contact lens size Purusha, behind, the contact lens is put on the eye. Imagine this fellow behind the eye. And then actually it's very powerful. Dakshini, Aksha Purusha. Dakshina means left eye. So if you're right-handed, you imagine or visualize Bhagavan behind the left eye, and then whenever you see this is not a closed eye meditation, this is an open eye meditation, all day long meditation, you never come out of meditation. Whenever you see, you say, oh, I think I'm seeing my friend across the street, then you go, no, I'm not seeing my friend. What is that? The Purusha behind the eye is seeing the friend. Do you see how it puts you? It can put you in a witness state if it's understood properly. If not, one becomes witless. Small difference, but big difference, And so like this, and then there is one, what is that called? Blue Dot Upanishad. Neila Bindu Upanishad. Somebody translated it like this. Blue Dot. Neila Bindu. Blue Dot Upanishad. And there it says, imagine a blue dot. And that's not the Atma, but many people, many paramparas have come out of this Blue Dot Upanishad saying Atma is only blue, no other color. It's blue surrounded by yellow light, because this is how the Upanishad asks you to, look at. And so, in our tradition, in the Advaita tradition, meditation is seen as part of the, an inside job, your own homework. Yeah, it's not, it is, instruction is given. And instruction is given with a view to, with an expectation that this instruction will be carried home and practiced on your own, So the instructions are given every now and then. So the meditation is a means to calming the mind and allowing all the difficulties from the past and the fears, etc., to relegate them to their proper places and not let them overshadow and foreshadow your thinking and actions, so that they are powerless. They are not able to take a bite out of your day. So that is why the meditation is more for the sake of gaining that clarity, so that you gain that clarity not so much about the knowledge per se, but about your own self. You get to know that Pratyagatma. So meditation is a handshake with Pratyagatma. Who is this Pratyagatma? Is that Swami in the East Coast? No. That is Pratyak Bodhananda Swamiji. That's not who we are talking about. Yeah, Pratyak means it's the opposite of Parag. What is Parag? There are all these words. We encountered one in the Bhashya, which it was difficult to see even that word. Arvak. Yeah. So Parag, outside. Pratyak, inside. So Pratyak means inside. So that innermost self, quote unquote, within heavy quotes, that is overshadowed, as it were, by the koshas, mistaken for the koshas, mistaken for the body, mind, sense complex. So you need to find a way to make this U-turn and go back and shake hands with that I, which is, that unmistaken I. And for that reason, the meditation is important. So, all this why to say that just because we are not doing it verse by verse doesn't mean that it's not important. It is important, but it has a different kind of importance, in the sense that the gist is going to be given and the onus is on you to practice that. And if it is difficult to practice that on your own, practice that in a group. Yeah. We have so many CDs and everything you can take and practice. You can make more also. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So the meditation is an interruption to the normal ways in which the thoughts proceed. The normal ways in which, what we think is normal, the normal way in which the thought train proceeds is discrete, seemingly discrete thoughts connect together and then form a choo-choo train, which is a train wreck, and then when the train wreck of thoughts happens, the person who is identified with the thoughts becomes a wreck. That this is where it goes. And that's why you say, many times it is said that thoughts come for no rhyme or reason. That's not true. There is a reason, but the reason is hidden in the unconscious. So that's why when you think of flower, maybe you think of something which is completely unconnected to flower. Chocolate cake. Although in Eugene they put flowers on the cakes, so that's not a good example. But something like that. You think of two completely discrete things and then you wonder at yourself, how come the thought of this is leading me to that? It's not that there is no connection. Connection is very much there. The connecting link between thought 1 and 2 is buried in the unconscious. So you see the thoughts that are manifest and the connection is unmanifest. The connection could be a reason or it could be a rhyme. Sometimes the rhyming words bring out the connection, Honda rhymes with Bonda, and so things like that. So many things. And so that's why the meditation is to help in two ways. Is to help connect with not the thinker so much, because one is already identified as the thinker. It's not helped at all. And so the meditation is to connect with the content or the truth of the thinker. Is to bypass this status of being the thinker and identified with the thoughts, and to go, as it were, beyond that, below that a little bit, or more inner than that. Like we are saying, even, see, this is all not an accident. Kathopanishad also, we are all in the same place. Resolve the speech into the mind, resolve the mind into the heart like this, the heart into Atma like this. Here also it's the same thing. So there is a certain resolution of this thinker, who I think to be absolute, who is actually someone who comes and goes. It's a status. Because in sleep, are you thinker? Don't think about it. Say quickly. No, you cannot be a thinker in the sleep. Why will you be a thinker? Because what thoughts are you having in the sleep? No thoughts. But during the day, one is highly identified with the thinker. And the thinker's job is just to keep brandishing the thoughts that come out of the unconscious, like bubbles from a swamp. That's really how it is. I saw somewhere a photograph of a swamp. In Georgia there is one Fenoki swamp. Yeah. And then perhaps that photo or maybe this was somewhere even Alabama, some southern state, forgot. And there they showed this mud bubble, this sludgy water. Bubble, 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 bubbling up. And then, and it just spews some disgusting things. And then it's quiet again. and then, that's the time it attracts a lot of visitors, because they come and take photographs, tourists, because what else they'll see when they go there. This is the main attraction. And then for a few days it is quiet, and then the next spell comes, because there's hot and humidity, so there are certain environmental factors from outside, there are environmental factors, earth's changes within, whatever it is, that releases these bubbles. Disgusting looking bubbles, Yeah, sludgy, full of mud. And that is how this unconscious is. It's the storehouse of that inner sludge, in Sanskrit called kashaya. Interesting that the Vaidya, the traditional doctor, the Ayurvedic Vaidya, when he or she prepares a medicine for reducing fever, that is also called kashaya. And likewise it is extremely sludgy. And the worst tasting thing next to neem that I have encountered, absolutely bitter. And the bitterness is what reduces the fever. And then, so you drink that. And the parent watches you till you have to, then those dosages are marked on that bottle. I can never forget. very traumatic memory. And the dosages are marked on the bottle in these white strips of paper, cut and marked. And that whole dose you have to drink. And the parents watch you with a club on your head till you have drunk it. You cannot, and also you cannot have any thought that you're going to hold it in your mouth and when they go away, you're going to spit it out, because you cannot hold it in your mouth. It is so bitter. You just have to quickly swallow it. You know, like who? Lord Shiva swallowed that on the initial Pradosha day. On the first Pradosha day, he swallowed hala hala. Hala hala means the collective, the emotional sludge bubbles of the collective unconscious. And so what is this unconscious? It's a storehouse of memories, that's all it is. Memories that are unprocessed, memories that are not even true. Memories mean subjective impressions from a point of view of a 2-year-old. 2-year-old is not going to have logic, its brain is not developed, it's not going to say, it's not going to, that's why it's not called as a witness in a court of law. Its perceptions are highly subjective, depending upon its own needs in the moment, and all it needs is mother and father to be around. This is the psychology of the 2-year-old, 3-year-old, whatever it is. And so all those impressions for which it did not and could not get answers from itself and from others are just stored. And then when there are environmental changes like adulthood, the bubbles come out. In a relationship of trust, the bubbles come out. All the sludge comes out. Marriage bubbles come out. Any kind of a deep connection with someone you share, the bubbles come out because it's finally safe enough to feel unsafe. And that's a good thing. If you recognize it, it's a good thing. If you don't recognize it, you're the most miserable person on the earth. Yeah. That's what it is. If you recognize it, it's a very smart thing, it's a wonderful thing, because that's a precursor to taking ownership. And taking ownership means taking responsibility without blaming oneself or blaming the other. And that is the first step into Vedanta. No self-blame and no blaming of anyone else. So you see, if the thoughts are random bubbles from the unconscious, random from the point of view of this sane individual, it seems insane where these thoughts are coming, why these thoughts are coming, why am I keeping on thinking of this idiot, who I have not seen in 15 years, why does this person's thoughts keep coming, and what is this all about? The thing is that there is a connection, and the connection is hidden. Now, there are 2 ways to go about it. One way to go about it is try to unearth the connection. And if you start trying to unearth the connection, you know what happens? Nothing. So, and why nothing happens, Because those connections which are deeply buried in the unconscious, and there is a reason why the unconscious is termed as such. Why? Because you're not conscious of it. Simple. And if you try to become conscious of the unconscious, that leads one to a wrong path. And there are so many wrong paths. I saw an advertisement once in California. I had gone, when did I go? Last year I was there for some conference, and they said, oh, this is our local paper. And paper means some booklet, a spiritual booklet. And it came to every room, and it came to my room also. So in between my talks, I was just looking through it. Horrifying. And it had every single thing under the sun. And one of them was, your Atma is torn apart. And pieces of it are all over the place. But thankfully this person is there. I forgot the name. Who wants to remember it anyway? And thankfully this person is there who can do soul retrieval. He, I think it was a he will bring the pieces of the soul together. Not S-O-L-E, S-O-U-L. And then join them and stitch them together so that all your old trauma is gone. And that person was very popular. So like this, there were all these advertisements about how to do this, what is called past life regression and some other things. Not that those things may not be useful, they may be useful, I don't know. But they are the means, they are not the end. And means to what? Not means to gain the end, means to prepare oneself for this knowledge. If they are authentic, they can serve as a means. But usually what happens, not knowing this, people take it to the end, thinking of it as the end. This is the problem. So the thoughts that are discrete, so that's one way to go about it. Try to unearth, why am I thinking like this? And it is just guesswork. One will never know. Because the unconscious, the harder the trauma, the bigger the trauma, the more invisible it is and the more elusive it is for understanding. It doesn't yield itself for understanding, it just yields bubbles. That's all. The source of the bubbles will never be able to, track down because they are very deep and hidden. This is the Ishvara Srishti, so that one could grow up. The unconsciousness is not Jiva's contribution, it's Ishvara's contribution. Why? So that the child can grow up without trauma. The trauma is just suppressed on purpose. A nice little carpet is put on it for the safety of the child. And then it is dealt with later when one can. But dealing with it doesn't mean it's that always useful to dig deep inside. So what is the other way? We work with the bubbles, because that's what is on the surface, and that's the sane way to go about it. The unconscious releases these, sludgy bubbles, full of all kinds of traumatic bubbles which are being released. I work with the bubbles. So let's say each bubble is a thought. So my job is to not string those thoughts. The previous thoughts which were strung together even 1 minute ago, over that I had no say. The next set of thoughts that are yet to come, will I be successful in not stringing them together, or will I go to the habitual pattern of stringing them together? I don't know. But right now the thoughts that are coming, I have a say in not stringing them together. So then out of all the punctuation marks, the full stops becomes very priya. Priya means beloved, dearly beloved. Why? Because I use it constantly to put it after every thought and before every other thought. Oh, I'm having a bad day. Full stop. Yes. Don't continue and start giving the reasons and string it and then hook and link and then after link, then it is sink. That's what happens. The more you link, the more you sink. And the linking over which, if you don't have control, if you don't pay attention. But if you pay attention, you can manage to not link. You may not be able to de-link what happened earlier, but you need not link the thoughts that are coming right now. Oh, the day is terrible, full stop. Then ask yourself a question. Look outside, such a nice day. Why is it terrible? Full stop. Don't answer, just ask. Full stop. So the general thought pattern without these full stops is called in Sanskrit, the technical term is Vijatiya Vritti Pravaha, a flow of seemingly unconnected thoughts. Although they are connected, the connection, the links have sunk into the unconscious. So I'm not able to rescue and analyze this sinking link. So therefore, it is seemingly discrete thoughts piling one upon another, and that is called Vijatiya Vritti Pravaha, Vritti thoughts. Vijati means having no connection with one another. I am the one who supplies the links and the staples and the pins, So this is what is called, mechanically, however the mind works. That is how I just let it roam. Wherever I go, I just let the mind also go wherever it wants. And then what happens? Identified with the mind, I go wherever it goes. Like Baba, black sheep, follows everyone. And then, saying Baba, keeps on following the master. This is not the kind of, this is not a good thing. the sheep flock mentality of the witness, the sakshi, to follow the mind is a compromising situation. So the sakshi has to be steady, and the mind then becomes an upakarana, an instrument, for the sakshi to gain this knowledge. To tune like a sitar, you tune it and then the sakshi strums, and plays, rather than the mind playing a game over the sakshi. This is a very important thing. And therefore here the meditation becomes a very important tool, because all you do in the meditation is give a job for the mind. And this is called sajatiya vritti pravaha. You tell the mind to think the same thought again and again. It is under training. Just like you train your dog. Sit. And then what does the dog do? Yeah, the tail wags the dog because it's very happy. It's not understanding anything. Then you say even more loudly, sit. And then it perks the ears. It thinks you are very happy with it. Then you scold, sit. Then its face falls. Oh, I'm so cute. Still they are angry at me. Why? And then you physically make the dog sit. Oh, this is strange. I don't want to sit. Why is this person making me sit? Then on the other hand, what do you have? In your hand, one dog biscuit or treat, something. Then because it is programmed by Ishvara, it makes the association. If I do this stupid act of sitting, which I don't really feel like doing, then some wonderful thing is going to happen. The dog's mind works by association. We've all heard of this Pavlov, correct? Yeah. The bell rings, even before the food comes, its mouth starts to water because it associates the ringing of the bell with the coming of the food. And really speaking, the mind is also kind of a pet dog, a disobedient one. So just like even the dogs in the West have to go to obedience school. Here, what to talk of the sentient mind. So the meditation is the obedience school of the mind. Yes. So therefore, you cannot, you have to be just like with the dog, you are very firm. But with the mind you say, oh, never mind. You can't do that. You can't, even Arjuna was thrown off in the beginning. Arjuna said, oh, Sanjalam, Himanah Krishna, Pramathi, it's a stupid thing, keeps making mistakes. Balavat, it is stronger than me. Dridam, it has a mind of its own. And then he says, I don't know how to control or manage this mind. If you tell me, go grab a fistful of air and bring, it's easier to do. But you're asking, even the wind I can hold, but I cannot seem to have a hold over or a say over this mind. And the teacher is very wise, being Lord Krishna. And Lord Krishna says, yes, my dear, I understand. He agrees with him. Yes, I understand that the mind is difficult to have a say over. But there are two tricks here. And he gives two tricks. Abhyasena tu kaunteya, vairagyena cha grihyate. The mind is able, you can have a say over the mind by these two things. What is that? Abhyasa and I just said it. Vairagya. Abhyasa. Repeat. Abhyasa and vairagya. What is abhyasa? What you just did. What did you just do? Repetition. Abhyasa is repetition. Repetition of what? We will see very presently. Mantra. The same thought. Vairagya here doesn't mean that, I have to leave my house and home and go live in an ashram. That's not the kind of vairagya we are talking about. Not yet. And so, what kind of vairagya we are talking about? We are talking of vairagya with regard to each and every thought. Like I said, each bubble becomes very priya before it becomes apriya. In fact, one is very much invested in sadness. Yeah, because you say, if this also goes, because, at least I'm depressed. I can't say this with a straight face. At least I'm depressed. If you take away that also from me, what will happen? Then you will be oppressed, that's all. Oh, but then if that also goes away, then you will be repressed. Then what? Then you will just be pressed, that's all. Then you will be suppressed. And after that you will be pressed. I rest my case. So this is what it is. People get very attached to the sadness. People get very attached to anger. If I don't have this anger, I don't have anything. Ayyo. Murkha. That's all we have to say. Murkha is an untranslatable word. Anyways. So then, then you say, okay, what will you be? And in some of these, what is that? I'm learning new things all the time, because in some of these interfaith conferences I go to, some people they invite, this is what they do in their life. And one person I heard, very nice talk he gave. And he said, he asked the people question, what will you be without this anger? And of course there is a silence in the room because they've never thought. So same thing you can ask, what will you be without the, you can put a dash there, anger, you fill in the blank. What will I be without the sadness? What will I be without this particular thing that I think is so much me, which is not really me? And so here this is so what this vijatiya vritti pravaha, which is allowing the mind to graze through these sad grasses, is converted into sajatiya vritti pravaha. And here the cow-like mind is only given alpha, 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 and then after that what? Alpha, alpha, and then after that what? Alpha, alpha, because it's the healthiest thing for the cow to eat. Alpha, and then next alpha, and then the next alpha. So wherever it goes to graze, what does it find? Alpha, 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 alpha. And then after that it sits down and contemplates, chews the cud. So the meditation is like that. You put the mind on a diet. This is obedience school. You cannot say, I'm not going to allow it to think, because then you will become a very dull person, really, honestly. This no thought, now also no thought. That becomes a thought. I don't want to have thoughts. And you cannot say, I don't want to have wants, because if you say, I don't want to have wants, that becomes a want, correct? Then how to get rid of that want? So, you cannot say, I'm going to have no thoughts. That is not the object of meditation. I don't know who said that, but that's not correct. We also say, watch the mind. But watching the mind constantly and trying to strive for having a no thought experience is again focusing on experience, and that experience will come to an end. Because very soon you are going to have the thought, how nice it is to not have thoughts. No? Yes. It's very nice. Now you have two thoughts. Then the third thought is feeling bad about having those two thoughts. Finished? Gone. So this is not something, having some kind of samadhi. That's not what we are interested in. This is not about samadhi. This is just about using buddhi to cut the cords between the thoughts linking themselves for a sufficient amount of time every day in a controlled atmosphere of quietude, so that when the mind is unleashed from this exercise, then it will not graze all over the place. It will still go for alpha, alpha only. After a few years, maybe after a few decades, it will become a natural way. It will become a natural thing for it to not have all these kinds of destructive or distracting thoughts. So therefore, you give the mind alpha, alpha, and you replace alpha, alpha is given to the cow, but to the one having a cow about this or that, what do you give? Alpha, alpha is replaced by Om Namah Shivaya. This is what is called Sajatiya Vritti Pravaha. So the Om Namah Shivaya is replaces all the thoughts. What is the first thought? Om Namah Shivaya. What is the next thought? Om Namah Shivaya. What's the third thought? Om Namah Shivaya. What's the fourth thought? No. The fourth thought invariably is anything happening now? Yeah, it's not Om Namah Shivaya. Let's be truthful. Let us, talk about it exactly as it is. So the fourth thought is never Om Namah Shivaya. In fact, sometimes the second thought itself is not Om Namah Shivaya. What is it? Oh, nothing is happening. How long I have been meditating and nothing has happened. Why I should do this? And sometimes one eye they will open. Is anything happening outside? Oh, everything is okay. This is called cheating. Cheating against oneself. So innocent one is. We are all so innocent, it is very nice. But this is Swabhavika, this is natural. Who hasn't done this, And then, then the one eye is open sometimes to look at the watch. And then there is a sense of dismay because not even 30 seconds have passed. But for the mind, it's been a long time. Oh my God. I thought it would be a few hours. It's not even a few minutes. It's just, 28 seconds. And, this is seems like a daunting task. So that is why I suggest that we start with 1 minute at a time. Yeah. 1 minute meditation. What is the acronym? Om. See how nicely OMM. Om. 1 minute meditation. Now mind you, I'm not saying that you should end at 1 minute. You should start with 1 minute. And meditation is not just sitting quietly, is not just trying to, not have thoughts, is not just watching the mind. What is it? It is giving the mind a task to do, something to think of, and only one and only thing to think of, so that mind minds its job and does that. So the mind is on a thought diet. That's all it is. It's on a mono-thought diet. And so this way, the mind is busy doing whatever it wants to do, but what it wants is engaged in a particular way, is given something to do. Not exactly all the things that it wants. It wants to think, okay, I'm giving it a thought. Then here a very important question comes. Why do I have to say a mantra? Why not some random word? Gobbledygook. Something. Okay, keep repeating gobbledygook few times. What happens? Yeah, gobbledygook, gobbledygook, gobbledygook. What happens? Nothing. Yeah. Nothing. Since it's mindless, the mind is not going to mind it. Therefore, if it's a mantra, it's efficacious in two ways. One is, even if the mind is not being calmed down, it's a mental action. In other words, you're getting two benefits. You're getting the immediate phala. What is phala? Result. Fruits. What is the immediate fruit of meditation? A calm mind. You're already getting that. Plus you're getting also the long-term result. What is the long-term fruit of meditation? Punya. Because it's a mental prayer. It's a mental action. And so when you're thinking consciously of Bhagavan, then you're getting good merit. You're getting punya. So this is two things, accomplished. And this way, and also the third reason why we take Bhagavan's name is because what is the object of the meditation? To prepare for moksha. How do I get moksha? By knowing Bhagavan as myself. So Bhagavan features, is the star of this knowledge, is the star of one's life, is the star of one's karma phala, and also has to be starring in the meditation. Simple. And so therefore, we give the mantra, and the mantra is also efficacious because the mantra usually is received from a teacher or from someone who is, a guide, or sometimes from the parents, And the main thing is that the person who gives the mantra has been practicing that. And so when they give the mantra, it comes with a little free ride, a charge. It comes with a certain free charge that will keep it going, because it's not just an empty mantra. It's like someone has given you a full battery, to spin on for some time. And then after that, it's a self-recharging battery, is that the more you repeat it, the more it gets charged. And how long does one have to repeat it before one gives it to someone else? This is very interesting. There is a practice called Purashcharana. I talked about it earlier when we studied the Ganapati Upanishad. Purashcharana means that each syllable of the mantra, like Om Namah Shivaya Panchakshari, 5 syllables. So each one you say 100,000 times. Each syllable. And so the whole mantra is said 100,000 times. And when you do that, then what happens? Then you are fit to give it to someone else, and then they will receive that with a full charge. How long does it take? That's why we have the counting, telling of the beads. You tell the beads, because then the mind has a little more achievement to look forward to. Mind always needs a reward, like it's a, like a dog. This is the reward. And what is the reward? The reward is that after doing so many malas, there's an immediate reward. After doing so many malas, I will go out and do some favorite activity. Go for a walk, go have ice cream, whatever it is. Doesn't matter. And then you can also say that if I do so many malas, I would have done Purashcharana. So Om Namah Shivaya, if you want to say 100,000 times, if you do 10 malas a day, then you can do the math, how many days it will take. So couple of years, I think 2.5, 3 years it will take. And so like this, and if it's a longer mantra, like Gayatri, it will take 6, 7 years, 7, 8 years. But this is how long one has to do, this is how long one has to do, but one can keep doing even after that. In fact, it is recommended. And so therefore, this is the importance of the mantra, because the mantra is what is making the mind hone to a particular thought that I tell it to think, rather than it's going on its own little merry way and dragging an unwilling witness behind it. Yeah. Otherwise the witness will be quartered, because sometimes the mind wants to go in all 4 directions and there is no witness. And if there is no witness, there is only witless. The helpless, witless. And so therefore, we bring this back to the mantra again and again. Distractions will occur, otherwise it is not meditation. Meditation means there will be distractions. And the distractions will definitely occur. But what do we have to do? Interrupt those distractions. Yeah. Interrupt those distractions so that, by what? By the mantra. The mantra is the antidote to distraction. So there is no time to feel blame. Oh, why I am always not able to meditate? Why I am not able to say Om Namah Shivaya? Why am I doing this? What am I doing? There is no time to blame oneself. Why? Because I have to say Om Namah Shivaya. And there is no time to feel bad. There is no time to, flagellate oneself and say, oh, I am a bad person. No. There is no time for anything, because you gently bring the mind back. You don't chase the thoughts away. You don't follow the thoughts. If a distraction comes, it is made to go away by the next mantra. And usually when will the distraction come? The distraction will not come when you are saying Om Namah Shivaya. Why?
Engaged.
Because there is an engagement. When is it disengaged? Between one Om Namah Shivaya and the next is anything happening. No, between the next Om Namah Shivaya, in between what is there? Silence. There is a gap. And that gap becomes a festering ground for all kinds of bubbles, mud bubbles to come. And it's amazing, in that small little momentary gap, how many thoughts flood the mind. And that's why you have to watch the gap closely, because if the witless becomes Garuda and watches the gap like a hawk, the celestial, eagle, if you watch the gap, then the mind goes, oh, the camera, eye cam is on. Capital I cam. So the eye cam is the witness watching the gaps between the mind, between the thoughts, between one Om Namah Shivaya and another Om Namah Shivaya. And then when that is interrupted, then what happens is that all there is we practice the Sajati Vritti Pravaha. And if the watching doesn't help, then you have to do other things, like sometimes chanting loudly will help. That's why in the meditation we chant loudly, and then chanting loudly helps. Anything to bring the mind to the focus. And sometimes sleep comes. When does sleep come? In between the lullabies of Om Namah Shivaya. The mind is lulled. And nothing to feel bad when sleep comes. You know why sleep comes? Because one is never so relaxed as in a Vedanta class or a meditation. That's why. And you associate relaxation with sleep because not being familiar with the various kinds of deep relaxation that meditation does and can give, one immediately goes to sleep. But even under the sleep there is lots of various, what are those called? Delta. Those waves, yeah. So delta meditation, all these things are there, where you are as refreshed or more refreshed than if you slept. So now let's try whatever I have said out. Okay? Let's see how to go with this. Yeah, that's enough. Sukham sthiram asanam. Sometimes it is nice to just sit with the eyes shut, not even trying to direct the mind to do this or that, or not do this or that. Just being, taking a little holiday from the outside world of objects, Eyes are closed. Ears, of course, are open. But when the eyes are closed, it's easy to let go of the sounds. Let the cars go by. Swatches of conversations, perhaps. Let them go. Other noises. The humdrum of life. I allow it to pass me by without getting sucked into it, without giving it the power to disturb me, because of whom everything exists. The ears hear. The mind chooses to ignore. The mind does not leap to conclusions about what is heard. Mind just is, doesn't jump. Doesn't meander. Just sitting with the eyes closed. Just being. Being with a being known as I. Everything is soft. Face is soft. Eyes are softly closed. Hands softly touch each other. The inner gaze is also soft. No judgment. No blame. And just like I can train myself to not heed the sounds that go by, traffic, etc., or other mechanical sounds, I can become accustomed to not listening to inner doubts, noises. I too can watch the thoughts like the traffic, neither following the cascade of thoughts nor shunning them. They just whiz by. I am with myself. The thinker is not trying to get to know the thoughts. It's trying to get to know the truth of oneself. Get to know one who is masquerading as the thinker better. I become familiar with that self that is unshakable, unafflicted, unaffected by what goes, what comes and goes, both outside and inside. Actually, there is no difference between outside and inside. Outside, a mixture of chaos, noise, beauty. Inside, same thing. Outside, every single thing, Ishvara. Inside, the truth of every thought, the truth of the thinker, Ishvara. Outside, with reference to the outside, the cause of sorrow, fear, anger, is unrequited expectations from people or circumstances. Inside, also the same thing. Unrequited expectations leading to sorrow, fear, anger, etc. Outside, a vast world of names and forms that can distract me from my quest. What about inside? Inside also, a vast thought world of names and forms that can distract me. As within, so without. That which has neither outside nor inside, that which cannot be referenced with the words outside or inside, is I, that conscious being whose consciousness itself manifests as outside, manifests as inside. Vast, formless, nameless, like even space. Just like from the standpoint of space, there is no outside, inside. From the standpoint of I, Atma, there is no external, no internal. Jagat is where thoughts are. That is the residence of the Jagat. Jagat rises and falls with the waker and the sleeper. I, waker I, sleeper I, thinker I, non-thinker I, talker I, silent I. Jagat is benign or malevolent because of the shades of my own thoughts coloring the Jagat. coloring my view of the Jagat. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I pray for freedom from these colorations. These colorations are nothing but the discoloration caused by my own subjectivity. Hare Hare, take them away, take them away. Rama, that Lord, who is the Atma, in whom all the sages revel. Ramante yasmin yoginaha iti Ramaha. Hare Hare. Let not the external migrate within and cause chaos. Insofar as such a distinction exists, likewise, let not the internal psyche color or discolor the external world. Hare Hare. Hare Hare. Every Hare is like sprinkles of Ganga water, purifying the mind, purifying the thoughts, purifying the thinker. Hare Hare. In this space, in this mind, this conscious mind, I place the mantra gently, like placing a flower on the altar. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Continue the chant mentally. Whenever the mind goes, gently it is brought back to Om Namah Shivaya. Allow the chant to stop. Listen for the spaces between the chant when I chant, and pick up the chant as soon as I stop mentally. Om Namah Shivaya, 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 Om Om. Allow the chant to drop. If this exercise helped in there being a greater absorption with the chant, that means the exercise was successful. Connect with that expansion that the mantra has given. Where everything can drop without it becoming a catastrophe. That which doesn't drop is I, Achyuta. Chutihi na vidyate yasya, for whom there is no dropping possible. Ananta, limitless. Sarvatma, the truth of everything, everyone. Sarvavyapi, all pervasive. Asangaha, uninvolved, unafflicted. Shantaha, resolved in itself. Nirdvandvaha, free of duality. Kaivalyaha, one which is oneness itself. That is the definition of I. That is what I have to get to know more and more. Om Shanti 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 Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Went a little longer, but I think it was worth it. Yeah. Okay. I will see you tomorrow.